In today's video, we'll be continuing our 5 keys series and talking about key number 2, words and senses.
Meow.
All right, guys, welcome back to the 5 keys series. Here, we're going to go jump right in pretty much to key number 2. I hope you had a lot of fun with key number 1 and just learning some of that brainwave state stuff. It'll help a ton. Even if you only did that, it would no doubt benefit your life a lot, as it has for me. So I don't see any reason to draw this out any longer. Let's get to key number 2. Here we go. All right, key number 2, words and senses. Now, this is a very interesting thing that I ran across. I'm going to talk about exactly how I stumbled across this and kind of pick it apart a little bit. But the basic idea is this. You use your words to describe sensory information. And I talked about this on exercise video 1 that I released, I don't know, like almost 2 years ago now, summer of 2018, whatever that was. And so today we'll unpack that even more so that you guys can kind of take it and run with it. Let's go. So back in April of 2018, this was really one of the early aha moments for me. You know, I had known about aphantasia since 2011 when I found out that my roommate couldn't visually imagine, but it didn't even have a name back then. And then come to find out my cousin also had it and different people I kept meeting. And so I'd always had empathy because it was like they wanted to visually imagine, but there just wasn't any way to do that. And there wasn't enough known about the topic that there was any research I could do. I tried, but nothing. I would type in like to Google, can you not see things in your head? And there was just nothing that would pop up. Until I ran across a brain magazine about it, I don't know, maybe in 2015. And that must have been right after, Dr. Zeman and colleagues had released their first published paper calling it aphantasia. And I was like, this is that thing. But then I couldn't find any more info. And, I didn't buy that magazine when I saw it. So, however, all of that led me to this moment in April of 2018 where I ran across some videos talking about the actual brain activity of somebody that's experiencing aphantasia. And well, instead of just describing it to you, let's check it out. I'll show you the very moment of one of these particular videos that really turned a light bulb for me, so to speak. So let's check it out. Here we go.
Fast forward to the early 2000s when neurologists at the University of Exeter encountered patient MX, a Scottish man who lost his ability to visualize things after surgery. When MX was in an fMRI machine, researchers showed him a picture of then Prime Minister Tony Blair and asked questions like, does he have large ears? Well, yes. As expected, they saw normal activity in his visual areas. Next, they asked him to imagine Blair's face. They expected to see similar brain activity, but instead, many areas were active, including those used for semantic retrieval. MX was trying to imagine a face, but in a non-visual way, using words instead of images.
Did you guys catch it? So when he was describing what something looks like, his visual brain was lighting up. But then, when he would close his eyes and try to think of that person, different places in the brain were lighting up, including one used for semantic retrieval. So when I saw that, something went off in my mind that said, okay, well, if that's what's going on in the brain, then maybe blending those experiences of words and senses would have an effect. And so I built all the exercises around that concept, especially, well, the early ones anyway. And over time, that proved to be one of the main keys that I stumbled upon. Now, it's cool. I've only ever seen one other source on the internet that talks about that same key, and I'll link it down in the description below. Right now, off the top of my head, I can't even remember what it is, but it's some research group or something like that. So I'll leave that in the comment section below and just make sure that you guys can catch that and check that out as well. So key number 2 is pretty short and sweet. So now we're going to jump into the strategies for this week. And just like we've been talking, first strategy, use words to describe sensory information. I will note here that doing so out loud is best. I haven't tried any of these types of techniques with writing it down or something like that. Maybe that would work, but talking out loud seems to be the easiest way to go about this. And what kind of sensory information do you want to describe? Well, you can use current sensory information like exercise 1 on my YouTube channel where you describe your local environment, you describe it with your eyes closed. You can describe a recalled scenario, something that you remember happening, or you can describe pretend scenarios, something that you're just making up on the fly. And one last tip is that you definitely want to try to work with a third party when you're doing this. Reason being, it tends to feel less awkward if you have somebody to bounce off of. Plus, they can kind of catch for you if certain places while you were doing the exercise like stood out or not. And if you don't have anybody to bounce off of like that, then your last resort could be, record your voice into your phone and then play it back to yourself. And then at least you have some sort of observation of when you were actually doing the exercise. Now, like I said in video number 1, I'm not going to lay out the actual exercises that I created, but honestly, I've said this before, they're not super complicated. So if you just use this key and you get creative with it, it can go definitely a long way. And I have no doubt actually that you guys will stumble upon some of the same things, some of the same types of exercise that I ended up developing. So that's kind of my hope with this too. Okay, and that's it for key number 2. And I'm really hoping that you guys can use this, get creative with it, and run with it. And if you're on the Discord server, feel free to share with each other what you guys came up with, even in the YouTube comments if you want to share down there. And if you find this valuable, feel free to share it among people too. We'll see where things can go from here. Of course, I'll mention that I'm totally available if you want to reach out and you want to chat, whether it's to clarify or talking about coaching or whatever you want to talk about with me. I'm making myself available for any of you that would like to reach out. So my website link is down in the description and some of those other resources. And that's about it. So have fun with this key, guys, and we'll see you next week.